So I wrote on October 31st, 2023. The moment one realizes that we are inanimate matter becoming animate, we are amazed by what we see and all the things that is produced. When we hold on to this amazement, it exuberates our life into ever-unfolding manifestations of ecstasy. But what is alive? I am alive because I know that I exist. If I didn't know that I existed, then I wouldn't know if I was alive. I wrote, sometimes I feel not real, and that's the delusion of the mind, one of them. But then again, it's also somewhat true, because my life, it's happening to me, but not in the way that I believe it's happening to me. I wrote, I know where I come from, and I know where I must go. Up to heaven.
Do you want me to comment on that?
You can, if you'd like to. Or, where would you like to take the conversation?
I don't know, I'm trying to be serious. I don't know how to not be silly.
Really?
Yeah, especially, I think it's because I get nervous on, like, recording, especially when it's, like, okay, we're going to talk about this. My bad. But I think I get nervous because it's, like, it's more planned, but not planned.
Right.
Like, if it was, like, me and my YouTube channel, I would pick a topic and then write down a couple, or I would pick, like, a general subject and then write down a couple different topics to talk about. Not super detailed, but just, like, a little synopsis for myself. But because it's just, like, hitting the button record and we're not doing, like, fun, silly stuff, it makes me nervous. So then I want to do the fun, silly stuff because it's easy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it's easy to just talk about whatever, like, not sponsored by Red Bull, you know?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
We're talking about stuff I like, which is not really stuff you like.
Well, I mean, I like the things that you like.
No, you do. But whenever it comes to, like, making YouTube content, it's like, I always think about, like true crime podcasts, or, like, I've been really into, like, ghost Reddit stories that people, like, on YouTube will read.
That's cool. That's fun, because, I mean, that's, like, community feeding into community.
Yeah.
Like, I like that aspect. But it's like, I don't know.
But that's not why we're here.
Right, yeah, yeah. You know, because...
and I understand that.
Right. Yeah. But, exactly, there's something higher. And that's the dimension that I want to bring about. Because, like, it's not my will, but God's will be done. And it's about, well, I guess the same thing that you said. Fostering community, bringing people together. And that really creates for an atmosphere of belonging. Making people feel like that they're a part of something. And that's really the whole idea behind YouTube, I personally feel, is that
I agree.
You get yourself out there and you share your ideas and you talk to people.
Those are things that I've told you too, because for a minute you were like, YouTube is a terrible place, or you didn't say it like that, but you didn't like me consuming YouTube videos even though you were.
Yeah.
Just because you felt like it was lesser, but that's never the right mindset either.
Yeah, no, because honestly, like,
just because it's talking about different things doesn't mean it's not still community.
Right, yeah, and still contributing to a societal ideal.
Yeah.
But...
yeah, and I will say a lot of the people that I do consume on YouTube, like, I try to be a lot more conscious of what I am consuming and who I am consuming, so I try and consume people that are good people. She's not very, she is kind of popular now, but she's not like a huge influencer on YouTube, but Mia Maples, one of my favorite content creators. You know what she talks about? Fashion, makeup, stupid stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
it's not stupid.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah, no,
but part of the reason why I consume her content is because whenever she, like, makes fashion videos, and I've told you this before, she will purposely buy things in the wrong size because she's going to donate it so that anyone, like, that is bigger or smaller than her also has a chance to wear the clothes that she knows she's going to donate. or she'll do charities, and she makes merch sometimes and will take the profits from that and donate it.
Yeah,
you know,
that's really cool. Yeah, see,
exactly.
and like that's what I want to do. Like I want to donate to stuff. Like I want to contribute to philanthropy. Like
right.
I have big ideas.
And that's why I love consuming her content.
Right.
Because even though it may not be about spirituality or it may not be about God, but she's a great person, and that's something I want to support.
And I mean, like anything that instills
really
virtue into people, that's what I personally feel like is good. Because like it's about the content, what you're creating, what you're doing with your time, your energy, your effort, and how that's contributing to your own mindset in your own life. And like that's what everything comes down to, is like what kind of effort are you applying to yourself to learn about life? How are you trying to educate yourself?
Right. And that's the thing.
At least in my
also,
mind.
I do educate myself. I do think that there are more things like on your side of the spectrum that I could get into. But I educate myself on my own hobbies,
right,
and things like that.
Yeah, and I shouldn't judge other people for the things that they like just because it's something different.
Yeah.
Like, honestly, I'm somewhat judgmental in my pursuit of what's appropriate to consume, because like a lot of the stuff in the world, if you're going to glorify the wrong spirit, then you're always going to live a poor life. Like, and I don't mean poor in the aspect of money, I mean poor in the aspect of your own quality of consciousness, like what you believe is possible for your life. And I think that glorifying the good and trying to see the good in every person is how you perceive and live a better life. And that's one thing that God, spirituality, Buddhism, Christianity, really anything that I've studied or took time to try to understand, it's really influenced me to become a better person. And honestly, it wasn't really until I got with you that I actually really started to care about those things.
That is true. I pushed you to spirituality. I'm not saying that you fell into it because of me, but I was a big pusher on it of you. I was always telling you, like, maybe you should check it out, or maybe you'd find it interesting, and one day you did, and you never stopped. Which is good, you know, because I used to be way more into it than I am now. I mean, never as far as you are into it, and I'm very proud of you for that. But I used to watch a lot of content on it and stuff like that. It's just like hard for me because I have so many differing beliefs, and then it's also like, I don't know, sometimes it's like people can be so pushy.
Yeah.
I don't like stuff being shoved down my throat.
Yeah.
That's why I don't like to identify as anything as far like when it comes to religion. I like to take a little bit from everything.
Right, and that's kind of how I see things, is that like it all works together to form a coherent ideal, like, and that's peace among nations.
Right, and I like to respect people in their own beliefs, whether they have them or not.
Right.
Like, if you're atheist, I still respect that. If you're agnostic, which I identified as both for a very long time, I would go back and forth. Or, like, I used to identify and practice Wicca, you know, stuff like that.
But in the realm of that, what do you mean by practice?
By practice?
Yeah.
Like,
how do you practice that?
well, I can't tell people how to practice that.
Right, of course.
I can tell them one of the few things that I did.
Right.
It was a long time ago.
Right.
So I don't remember everything.
Right.
First of all.
Yeah. Of course.
Second of all, of course, I'm kind of ignorant. I was a child at the time.
Yeah.
As much as I could practice, I would.
Yeah.
And
of course, everything that you get into, you're like a novice at first.
Right.
You don't really know. You're just kind of experimenting.
Right.
The more that you understand and get into things,
right.
you start to be like, oh yeah, this is true.
That's why, like, I get kind of emotional about it, because when I was practicing Wicca, like, I was bullied a lot about it, kind of, like, people always thought I was weird, and like which I probably shouldn't have said it this way. I was a kid again,
Yeah.
so I thought it was cool being like, I'm into witchcraft.
Yeah.
You know.
And
That's
it's
not
like
even what it's about.
Yeah, no, it's like the superstitious mind is very scared of anything that it doesn't really know, and so like honestly, I used to have a fear of like Buddhism, or I didn't really have a fear of Buddhism, but it's like I felt that some spiritual things that I was gonna read was wrong or like evil, and like I had to overcome that idealism of believing that there's knowledge in the world that's evil or wrong. Like it essentially can be if it's not upholding a moral standard. I personally feel, because the more that you derogatory other people, the more that it downgrades your level of experience.
Right.
But I don't really know. I forgot where we were going with that.
That's okay. But you talking about your fear, and not just of Buddhism, but, well, not Buddhism specifically, but you talking about your fear of spiritual texts and maybe not being...
I've never had a fear of Buddhism, but it was more like of knowledge in general. Like I just thought that there was a possibility that some knowledge would be bad, and like...
Right. I don't know. It just kind of makes me think about, which it's a little bit off topic in my opinion, but it makes me think about like kind of like how I was raised, because I remember having a conversation with my dad and being kind of young about, I didn't have to identify as Christian. I didn't have to be Christian. I was raised in a Christian... I mean, not that I was raised, but I did go to a Christian daycare most of my life, and they also had a summer camp, and I would do that. And so we would do, I guess you could call it church.
Yeah.
And I would sing and things like that. I mean, there was a chapel we would go into. It's like all kind of connected. You've seen it. But having that conversation with him, that it was okay, that I can explore other things, brought me comfort, that I didn't have to believe what everyone else believes, and that made me feel comfortable to explore other things, especially at such a young age.
Yeah. And like,
and it's not that your parents aren't like that. Like, of course they would be okay with whatever you want to identify as, and they're not like, oh, well, you have to be,
a certain religion.
Right, but they are a little bit more Christian lenient, and that identification. And I do like to believe we're kind of like them. They're kind of like their own form of Christian. Like, they're not Baptist, they're not Catholic, none of that. They're their own, and I actually have to thank them a lot for that, because they kind of brought me into not inherently Christianity, but believing in God again. You as well, of course.
Yeah.
But you already know your parents are so knowledgeable.
Yeah. Whenever you, whenever you have an experience in life and the world always seems like it's against you, you develop a certain attitude towards life where you think that the world is constantly against you, and like in that there's really no hope. But at the same time, like, it appears that way, but it's all about the change in your belief and how you perceive and what you believe in. And like, the more that I practice a sense of spirituality, the better that this contributes to my well-being and my feeling of safety and comfort. And it allows me to accept more responsibility in myself. And my dad's always told me that he's never been able to overcome his feeling of being a sinner by self-condemnation, and that's one thing that I really struggle with, is always condemning myself for being a bad person, for being wrong, for being not right, and like, it always makes me feel bad, because like, that's not really me. Like, I'm doing the right things, I'm trying in my life, and like, I show up for myself every day. I go to work, I help my friends out with things. Like, I'm a caring individual, and at least I try to be. Sometimes I'm not, but It's all about if you want to let your mind go there, and you have to care about things, because that's what really creates the balance in your life, is your attitude of care, the compassionate nature, really.
That's very true. Kindness is free.
Yeah.
And it can be hard to, kind of push past your own emotions and still be what you want to be or who you are. I know those are two different things, but as far as like being a good person or being a nice person, I guess it's more of who you are than what you want. I don't know. My brain, I'm kind of losing it. I'm losing what I was saying.
No, I mean, I get your point, because like who you are kind of contributes to who you want to be, and who you want to be kind of contributes to who you are, who you're being.
Right.
And so like,
and when I think, kind of the reason why I was kind of going back and forth between the two is like whenever I say who you want to be, it makes me think of like, okay, you can want to be this amazing person, but it's also about putting in the work, and do you want to put in the work, And I think about one of our friends, and the past, because he's been doing a lot better now, but he wants to be this good person, he wants this, like, but he doesn't really want it. Like, he does want it, but not bad enough to do anything about it.
Right, and that's what Chelsea told me, is like, how bad do you really want it? Like, how bad do you really want this? Like,
yeah, like,
like that's what it comes down to. Like,
right, like,
how much effort are you going to apply to achieve your goal, to get the thing that you want out of life?
Exactly, because you can want something, but do you want it bad enough to actually do something? You know? To put down whatever it is that's stopping you, if there is something like that, like in the case of our friend, putting it down and pushing past it, which it can be difficult, and it can be difficult to get to that point. I can understand, and especially when other people around you are doing the same habits that you're doing, it can be very, very difficult, but you have to hit that kind of breaking point to be
where you're like, okay, I need to change myself. Like, this is too much. Like, I'm tired of living life this way. And that's what really, like, whenever you start to become tired, or your heart starts to get broken by your own experience, that's when you start to really wake up to, holy shit, like, my life is terrible. I need to change who I am, what I'm being, how I operate. What I do, how I operate. Because, like, that's what everything comes down to, is how you work your own mind, what you're doing with your own time, energy, and effort. And
and I can definitely be very what is it, empathetic or sympathetic? Because empathetic is like,
empathetic is empowering people. Sympathetic
it's like stepping in their shoes, right? That's what they say. And then sympathetic is like feeling bad for somebody. It's
feeling sorry for them. Empathetic is like empowering them, realizing that you've been through that, or like you can go through that.
Like, I can be very empathetic towards our friend, because I can only understand so much.
Right.
Because it can be very, very difficult to bring yourself to a point to want to actually do the actions behind turning your life around, and especially when you are so hard on yourself that you feel like you have no one to lean on,
or like no support. And like, that's why I'm so big on like the idea of people supporting each other, because like, in reality, that's what human beings need. That's what individuals want out of life, is the support from each other. And that's one thing that life, and being in a relationship, and having the experience of, I don't know, being alone, suffering, and being with God, and realizing truth. It's like every aspect of life, it goes to teach you something about your own experience, and the things that you can go through, and the things that you've been through, and the things that you're gonna go through. And it's like everything is an experience that teaches you about yourself, and the more that you acquire self-knowledge, the better that your life becomes, because you see the truth of it all, like how your life relates to everyone else, and how we're really all in this together, and life doesn't get better unless we come together and put in the work with each other. Like, communicating and having a discourse and talking about life. Thank y'all for this time with me and my girlfriend. This has been a good experience.
Yeah.